Hey friends, good evening. June 6, 2023, here in New York City. And we're at Cooper Hewitt, Smithsonian Design Museum, lit up beautifully yet again. Really gorgeous lighting here. About 6:45 p.m., 45 degrees, but much colder than last night, even though it was the same temperature. Just check out this lighting. It's stunning. Really cool. If you're joining, say hi in the chat, let me know. Curious where you're watching from. Ambrose is here. Hello, good to see you. Let's go around the other side. The Cooper Hewitt here on the Upper East Side is actually near the Russian consulate. I have a short posted of the Russian consulate because a few weeks ago it got totally tagged, in other words, covered in paint. Presumably an act of protest, and it was up for weeks, the paint. They finally took it down. Simon Davies here, good to see you. Just taking a quick look at the Cooper Hewitt, because at night they just get the lighting. Let me cross the street a little bit if I can do so without getting hit. Yep. Just show you guys the lighting. It's so cool. I think it'd be pretty funny if you brought your taxes over here and asked. John Burke is here, good to see you. Really beautiful, isn't it? All right, so we're gonna head into Central Park for a minute, maybe more than a minute. Get a lot of questions about the park at night. So I think, why don't we go take a little stroll? I've been meaning to do the reservoir at night because you get these beautiful nighttime views of the Upper East and Upper West Side skylines. So why don't we go take a quick look at that, and then we will see where things take us. TBD. But it's fun to see everybody. When we did our little perimeter walk of Central Park, I mentioned the gates. So some of the larger entrances to the park are named as gates. This is Engineers Gate. The gates are named after prominent professions at the time of the building of the park. But there are some funny ones. So for example, Stranger's Gate. And then on 110th Street, Central Park North, we did see Gate of the Exonerated, the first to be added since the beginning of the park. Pretty cool, pretty interesting. Ambrose. I forget when it was, but I don't think I was live. I think I was just filming, but I was in the park one night and I did see the biggest raccoon I've ever seen in my life. And the funny thing is, they look just like bandits. This is John Perroy Mitchell, the mayor of New York City. Pretty cool. And it's so funny, I mentioned last night that the iPhone kind of plays a trick and it makes the image much brighter than it is in real life, and this is a really good example. So on the screen it looks, on my screen it's looking like the little memorials kind of all lit up, and it doesn't look quite like that in real life. It's kind of interesting how that happens. So this is where we walked from. That's the Cooper Hewitt. We've just crossed Fifth Avenue. Now we're in Central Park. Simon's asking, how are the missus and the mini bagel? Well, the missus, I think she was here earlier getting some exercise. So hopefully she and the little dude are getting settled on the couch. Hopefully she will join us at some point. Lizzie's here. So this is one of my favorite parts of Central Park. This is the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Reservoir. And check out the views here. I don't think we're gonna do a full loop, but I think we're gonna go around pretty far to the other side, and then we'll pop out. And we're gonna get some pretty cool views along the way, and I'll try to not yap the entire time so you guys can hear some of the water sounds, because it sounds pretty nice tonight. And if you guys are familiar with that accursed app known as Twitter, I've discovered, obviously plenty of people know about it, I'm just saying, I've discovered it for myself, that there's bird Twitter. I'm not like a big birder, but I keep hearing about all the interesting birds in Central Park, and it turns out there's an entire community of bird folk on Twitter, and they've been posting these amazing images of bird sightings in Central Park. And for anybody who was with us on the perimeter walk, we did pop into the park a couple of times. One of them was at an area called the Pool, and we saw some gorgeous ducks. And apparently in that area is a, I think, singular red-headed duck, and it's like the most beautiful looking duck you've ever seen. So I'll have to come back in the daytime, because I you know, even if I saw some birds, it's too dark. But if you're interested in that sort of thing, check out bird Twitter. I had no idea. Yeah, the views over here are incredible. So I've mentioned many times when we're in the park, they're overlooking the park, specifically on the west side, are these twin-towered buildings. The one in the middle of the frame right now is the El Dorado. If you're a little further south at the lake, there's a very similar looking building, which is the San Remo. Yeah, Simon, I know it's a very popular activity, and I sometimes get a kick out of seeing the photographers, because the lenses some of them have, you know, they're like the size of your arm. And if you go on to, in New York, the famous photography store is B&H, bhphotovideo.com, and you look up what some of those lenses run for. It's unbelievable. So I know it's a hobby, but it's also like a serious hobby, and you can really invest a lot in it. So again, this is the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Reservoir. Jacqueline Kennedy, a great friend to New York City. Many things named in her honor. One of the main entrances to Grand Central Terminal, the one at Pershing Square, there's a beautiful plaque of her, and it mentions the works she did to help save Grand Central from the same fate as the old Penn Station, which, if you want to tear your hair out, look up old pictures of what the original Penn Station looked like. It'll blow your mind. Especially if you are familiar with the current Penn Station. Although with the addition of the Moynihan train hall, they're certainly attempting to make it better. So this is an active running track, so usually if you're like me, not as, you know, not running, I'll stay to the right. It's also a one-way track, but a lot of people who are visiting don't necessarily know that. So during the day, sometimes you'll see people coming at us, and the runners get so angry. It can be funny to watch and listen. Noble Sweetness is here. Oh, Lizzie, I think some of them go even into the, you know, tens of thousands of dollars, depending on how sophisticated they are. It's really crazy. So I was saying, it's like the same temperature as last night, but it's much windier tonight, so it feels a lot colder. Kind of wish I had brought my gloves, but I saw the temperature and I was like, oh, last night was fine, it was comfortable. Whoops. When we round the bend, I'm going to give you guys some more panoramic views, because we'll be facing south, and the views, spectacular. Suque's here from beautiful Santa Fe, New Mexico. I can't wait to take a trip to Santa Fe one of these days. Oh, yeah, let's just turn here. This is beautiful. Check this out. So that is Central Park South and beyond. So the towers of Billionaires Row. And I think it looks particularly beautiful tonight because yesterday was so foggy. If you recall, a lot of the buildings were lost into the clouds. So tonight we get this beautiful clear view. And I think that just makes it look that much more beautiful, doesn't it? Gorgeous. So I think the running track is about 1.5 miles long. It takes me, and I'm a fast walker, it takes me about 30 minutes. To do a nice little loop. Ah, Noble says it's a full moon tonight. Okay, I will be on the lookout. My shoes are going to be very muddy after this. If you watch any of my recorded videos, if you're really into those ASMR, you like the sound of the footsteps, especially on the squishier days. I have a ton of videos of doing the loop because this is probably where my wife and I get the most exercise in New York City. Just come over here, get a couple, miles in doing the loop, walking around a little bit. I'm trying to keep my eye out in case we do see any wildlife, but I assume they go to sleep. You can see 432 Park Avenue, 1 Vanderbilt, and of course many of the Midtown towers. You can even see the top of the Empire State Building kind of glowing, but it's just the from this angle, it's just kind of like the radio tower, I guess. It's a very clear night. Ooh, I can hear some of the birds honking. Must be the geese. So we're coming up to the north pump houses. There's a south pump house as well. There's a pipe that runs the length of the reservoir. Heinz Tang is here, likes the sky with the clouds. Hey, we'll get lots of good views tonight, I hope. On our right, a little hard to see, but this area is where the tennis courts are, and they were so busy during the US Open. You could tell that the Open really inspired people. Simon Davies says, did a bit of research on your comment on CUNY Nobel Prize winners, 12th highest overall, but is second in science. So maybe that's where that bit of trivia was coming from. Here's the sign, by the way. And now in the background is the Upper East Side, and of course the glowing building in pink is where we started, the Cooper Hewitt. It really shines. Simon, thanks for looking into that. I had heard that bit of trivia at some point, and it seemed, but I guess maybe there were some caveats that I had lost track of along the way. Numbers read 1864, which is when I think this would have been built. Patricia's here, Leela Sorensen's here. Noble Sweetness is enjoying the reflections of the lights on water. Check out this. This is one of the many bridges in Central Park. This is one of my favorite. I'm really, I know, and I'm sure you guys are too, looking forward to the first big snow. This is one of my favorite walks, but I always tell people you got to be really careful on the reservoir because, well, you can see right now, and I'm having to be a little careful just so my shoes don't get totally flooded tonight. A lot of water comes up here, splashes up here from the reservoir, from the wind and stuff, and lots of ice settles up here, so it's actually really slippery. It's not like the soft snow that's easy to walk on. It actually ices over. So part of the fun is, if you watch any of my reservoir videos in the snow, is looking for where I probably slipped. It probably happens every time. Let me show you the bridge one more time. It's so beautiful. Ramon is here. Good to see you. So let's see. The little dots in the water are the ducks. I wonder if they're asleep. Do they just float there? There's a whole bunch of them, but it's so dark it's pretty hard to see them. But if you see these little lumps in the water, those are some of the birds. I have to assume they're just sleeping. And as we round the corner here, we're going to get this gorgeous view of the El Dorado. Imagine having one of those big penthouses and waking up every morning and seeing this. Hey, Andrea's here. So good to see you. We are here for a little bit of Central Park. So we're going to round the corner. We'll exit. I think we're going to exit in the middle of the screen where you see the red light. That's where we're going to exit. And I think we'll head over to, we'll walk around the lake and over to Bethesda Fountain. Sometimes there's music at night. So I think, why don't we go see if there's any music there? And then we'll see where the legs take us next. Bitcoin Beach, Jamaica. Watching from Jamaica. Hey, good to see you. Rolo's here. I mean, Central Park's got to be my favorite place in New York City. Always changing. It's a beautiful day or night. It's really fun. If you want to see something really funny, an example of how much New York has changed over the years, look up the movie Marathon Man. YouTube has a clip of Dustin Hoffman running this track. But when did that movie come out? In the 1970s? So a long time ago. And you will be shocked. You will be totally shocked at how different it looks. The clip I know of on YouTube, if you search for it, if you search for Marathon Man, Central Park Reservoir, the clip I'm familiar with, I think all the dialogue is in Spanish. It's pretty funny. But for folks who talk about the decline of New York City, I would send them that clip. And then any video from today, and they can decide for themselves. Paulino's here, and very kind words from Andrea. Hey, appreciate you. Be quiet for a little bit so you guys can hear the honking of the geese. Ooh, was it Noble Sweetness who mentioned the full moon? Beautiful. Achilles is here. Yes, we are in New York, specifically Central Park. Ooh, lots more birds in the water. Oh, that's a beautiful view, isn't it? All right, that might be a little thumbnail image right there. That is beautiful. Someone, I think it was in the comments at some point, mentioned that they were visiting New York City and didn't know all the rules and went to the park at 3 a.m. and a patrol car came up to them and gently encouraged them to leave. The park does close at 1 a.m., but it's so large, it's not really practical to close it off, but if you are found, they will ask you to leave. And obviously for your own safety, you know, being there at 3 or 4 in the morning, you know, maybe not the best thing. All right, some of the birds are moving. Let me show you guys. Look how many there are. Achilles from Tajikistan, now in Russia, in St. Petersburg, 3:12 at night. So we started at 6:45 p.m. So it's probably 7:12 p.m. Taxi cab, watched the Marathon Man clip. Yeah, so the entire reservoir. Oh, I gotta show you guys this. So the entire reservoir was surrounded by a chain link fence. I mean, it looked so garbage. So one thing I've learned is that the ducks, if you see them going in circles, they're trying to feed. It's some sort of group. When they do this as a group, I guess it helps. I don't know if it attracts the fish, or I don't know exactly what they're doing, but I know that it's part of their feeding when you see them kind of go in these circles. Funny. I thought they'd all be asleep, but here they go. Beautiful, isn't it? Honking away. There's so many of them. It's like the movie Birds. So we're going to pop out right here, but when we get to the corner, I'll get one last view. There's so many of them. Wow. Carol Woods is here. G is here. Happy Friday to you both. TGIF. All right, let's get one last view before we head into the park proper. Let me show you the full moon again. Again, middle of the frame, all lit up in pink. That's where we started. That's the Cooper Hewitt on the Upper East Side. That's where we entered the park at Engineers Gate. We're going to pop out here, and we're going to work our way south now, heading towards Bethesda Fountain, just to see if there's any music. Sometimes folks play music there at night. Very pretty. We'll go see. Along the way, we should have some nice, I'll get into the road, so that'll open up our view a little bit. We should have some nice views of Central Park South along the way, and we'll pass the lake. On our right, we're going to pass the American Museum of Natural History and the New York Historical Society, which we saw. Yeah, really beautiful. Yeah, so that was the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Reservoir, if you want to look it up on the map. Now we are on the West Drive. These drives, you can stay on them and do an entire loop of the park, 6 miles. I have a couple of videos of doing that at different times of the year. And it's on my to-do list. We'll do that as a live stream one day, but I think I'd rather do that during the day. A little more to see. But if you have the time and the inclination, it's a great way to get the lay of the land of the entire park. A lot of people don't really go to the north section of the park. It's much busier in the southern section, but if you do the loop, it'll take you all over so you can get a taste of everything. Again, in the distance is Central Park South. Those tall, skinny towers are the towers of Billionaires Row. So it's about 7:15 p.m. here in New York City. It's about 45 degrees Fahrenheit, but it feels much colder than yesterday. Lots of people walking their dogs, getting their exercise, and in some instances doing both. A little earlier, 5 and 6 o'clock, you'll often see people commuting through the park. Just taking, stroll. Beautiful way to get around. And you can go in any direction. You can go north-south, you can go east-west. Hey, Jared, good to see you. Hey, and a Happy New Year to you as well. Wow, that guy's practicing his skiing. That's that like skate skiing. Interesting. So the way this works is the lane we're in is for walkers and runners. The middle lane is for bikes, but only going in this direction. And then the far right lane, usually emergency vehicles. Cars are no longer allowed in Central Park. The exception being emergency vehicles, park vehicles. There's one right now. Cars, you will notice, they'll go east-west, so there are a couple of, they're called transverses that cars can go down, but they kind of run underneath the park in most instances, so you don't like have to stop for them or anything. The bridges go over them, for example. Beautiful and peaceful night here. Nice way to relax on a Friday night. Lots of folks getting their running in tonight. To our left, you can probably pick out the lights a little bit. That's the Delacorte Theater. That's where they do things like Shakespeare in the Park. And then to our right, as I mentioned, we were coming up the American Museum of Natural History. Again, this is the West Drive, and you can take the drives on a 6-mile loop around the entire park. I bet some of these folks are doing that tonight. Simon asked, did I get my meal and a glass of wine last night? Sure did. Tonight, the missus is having a snack, so we will dine together tonight. Looking forward to that. Right now, she's probably giving the little kiddo his meal. He's an eating machine these days. He's growing quickly, and he's outgrowing his outfits. It's so funny. Whatever we were told about, how many outfits to get, how many onesies. And I guess part of the thing is in New York, we don't have a washer and dryer in our apartment. That is a luxury in New York. So this is what drew me out of the park last night, the lights at the New York Historical Society. But then we went and looked at them yesterday, and I gotta admit, it wasn't all that interesting. So it looks very compelling from over here in the park, but when we got up close to it, it was not as compelling as I had thought. Mini Bagel's doing well. We're excited for him to start sleeping more, which we're told should start to, we're getting to the point where hopefully he'll start to sleep a little more soundly. Slowly, slowly, slowly. But he's every day, more aware, picking up more sounds, more responsive. It's really fun. He's a good egg. Interesting. Ambulance. Hopefully everybody's doing okay. So when we were at the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Reservoir, I showed you one of the big twin-towered buildings. That was the El Dorado. This is the San Remo, which means to our left we are at the lake. So we'll pop down, and I'll get you guys some nice views of the reflections in the water at the lake. Really beautiful. If I can cross, if there's no runners or anything, let me just show you one last time. This is the New York Historical Society. Patricia asks, park looks empty. No, not really. I mean, I try to stick to the bigger paths at night. So for example, where I'm pointing the camera right now is an area called the Ramble, which is this kind of curved maze of wooded area, and it's really not very well lit. So I always tell people, I wouldn't recommend you do that at night. Mostly because you'll just get lost, unless you're really, really, really familiar with it. But I tend to stick to the bigger paths. I mean, it's New York, it's a big city, but statistically it's very safe here. We do our best, and we try to be aware of our surroundings. Oh, rats. I might have not moved the camera quick enough. All right, let's go take a look at the lake. So this part, the cars are generally not allowed in the park except for emergency vehicles and New York City park vehicles. So in this area, that's really the only cars you would see. But yeah, the drives they keep pretty well lit. This is one of the landings here around the lake. But check out these views. These are some great views. Hey, LL is here. Good to see you. Doing a little stroll around Central Park. Right now we're at the lake. So if you see the lake in the summertime, this is where you would see those rowboats. Some really amazing views, huh? Some really awesome views here. Again, the San Remo overlooking the lake, and then a little further south, another twin-towered building, but doesn't have the sort of ornate top. This one is the Majestic. So we're just surrounded by all these beautiful Central Park West apartment buildings. And up this hill is Strawberry Fields, and so the Dakota will be right over there as well. We're going a different direction tonight. We will save that for another day. Andrea's enjoying the images. Lizzie? Well, you know, it's like anything. You got to be, you know, be aware, be mindful. You can see there's lots of people walking through, exercising. You know, again, I try to stick to the kind of busier areas and paths. I want to go to Bethesda Fountain because, you know, sometimes there's music over there and there'll be a bunch of people sitting around. Unfortunately, so Bow Bridge, which is one of the most beautiful in the park, is right across the water, and you can sort of pick it out on the screen, but it's fairly dark to see that. Funny little tidbit is underneath this little wooden structure, you sometimes see the Central Park Barber. So if you go on Instagram and type in Central Park Barber, you'll see what I'm talking about. He actually does haircuts here. RJ's here. Hola, from Colorado. Hey, good to see you. If I remember correctly, you were going out to shovel some snow. I hope you have a warm beverage now. We were hanging out on Manny's channel earlier, Manny Explores, and I had to head out, but I'm pretty sure he has a premiere that I'm looking forward to watching. Video from Marble Hill, which is, I commented on it because I visited Marble Hill before. It's an interesting little quirk of history. So it's a neighborhood that is officially considered part of Manhattan, even though it is now physically attached to the Bronx. It's a fun read on Wikipedia if you look up Marble Hill, Manhattan on Wikipedia, and you can read about why a piece of land that's attached to the Bronx is actually part of Manhattan. And I look forward to seeing his video. And the architecture up there is really cool. So I'm looking forward to that. RJ, almost done. A lot of ice. Oof, ice is tough. Ice is very tough. Okay, so normally, should we go this way? Yeah, let's go this way. Why not? Why not? This way, this is Cherry Hill. It'll take us close to Bow Bridge, and we can see if we can get a nice view of Bow Bridge. And then to our right, this is where There is a fountain over here too, and a lot of the horse carriages, you can see one right now, come and circle here. Cherry Hill. This is the place, one of the best places to be during cherry tree season. This whole area just explodes in color. It's really beautiful. Jared says I'll have to come get my hair done in Central Park next time. Go on Instagram, type in Central Park Barber. He does really good work. And he's very charitable as well, so folks in need, he provides his services. I think that's really cool. So we're going to walk around Cherry Hill, and this path will take us to Bow Bridge, and then we'll continue on this path, and it'll take us to Bethesda Fountain. Sue K's got it on the TV. Hey. Good feedback, thank you for that. I always prefer my videos on TV. I know, it's not everybody, it's not an option for everybody, but I think these videos really shine on the big screen. Yeah, Patricia, I don't know that industry. It's every year there's more controversy, so I don't know how much longer. All right, let's take a quick look at the lake while we're here. The beautiful San Remo. Jared says, here I am trying to open my own shop when I can just cut hair in the park. So it's a funny story. So I don't think he actually charges his customers, because it probably needs all these licenses and stuff. So I think it's a tip-based transaction. This is Bow Bridge. Beautiful, very romantic, and if you spend enough time here on a nice, beautiful day, you'll see many an engagement. You'll see lots of modeling and photography. And there's usually music and stuff over here, so you could sit on these benches and just kind of watch, and people watch. This is a fun spot to do that. Yeah, I know our friends in California were thinking about you and all the rain. We got the cold, you got the rain. We're still waiting on the snow, though. All right, we're going to walk around the corner, head over to Bethesda. On the opposite end of the lake, so we were pointing west, we're now pointing east, is the Loeb Boathouse, which is a beautiful restaurant, and also where they did the rowboats during the summer. But it is currently closed for business. The operators in the city could not reach an agreement about it. So TBD when we'll get the Loeb Boathouse back. Obviously, I hope they figure this out before next summer so we can see the rowboats again. Chesiak is here. Good to see you. Sabrina Fair is here. Good evening. Welcome to beautiful Central Park. We're about to go over to Bethesda Fountain. I'll give you guys a nice view of the boathouse, because even though it's closed, they've kept the lights on. Some beautiful reflections into the water. And then we'll walk over to the Bethesda Arcade. But my ears are not currently picking up any music, so that's where I was hoping we might see some music, but it was probably too cold and rainy today that the musicians didn't think it would be worth it. Oh well. Again, that is the Loeb Boathouse. Really beautiful, isn't it? Nice reflections into the water. And this is the part I was mentioning earlier is, maybe not an area I recommend late at night. That's the Ramble. So it's the wooded area here in the kind of middle of the park. Kind of a maze of paths. Very beautiful, but maybe not the place I recommend late at night. This is the fountain. It's such a contrast to what we would normally see in the daytime. There'd be hundreds of people here, and oftentimes musicians in the arcade and then around the circle here. So it's so funny to see it so empty. If you watch the TV show Gilded Age, I was listening, they have a podcast, and I was listening that they did, because of COVID, they had a rare opportunity to actually do filming in Central Park, and since so much of it is from the time period that they represent, it's super interesting. So I recommend checking that out. It looks like there was music, but we are closing shop. So this is the Bethesda arcade. The ceiling is covered in Minton tiles, M-I-N-T-O-N, if you want to look them up. You've ever seen. Look at the colors and the shine at night. And it's so funny, we have the place to ourselves. And the walls are covered in these kind of medieval designs. Preston's here, good to see you. Anybody familiar with New York City, we have tons of tile work. So probably the one maybe you don't think about, but you've probably recognized it, is throughout the New York City subway. One of the original requirements for the New York City subway system was not just that it be functional, but that it be beautiful. So there's all sorts of tile work throughout the New York City subway system. And then if you're familiar with the Queensboro Bridge, or probably a really famous area is near City Hall. And I wish I knew how to pronounce the guy's name, but if you know Gustavino tiles, we have these vaulted ceilings covered in this amazing tile work. But just there in the Bethesda arcade, the Minton tiles are some of my favorite, and at night they really shine. Preston's asking, why is it empty there? Well, the park is not super popular late at night. It's not even super late, but the city sundown is at 4:30 in the city these days. So, you'll have some folks exercising and stuff, but the park pretty much empties out. We're gonna head south now through the mall. And I think we'll go see what's going on at the ice skating rink. To our left, the Naumburg Bandshell. Hey, and a $10 super chat from our good friend Simon Davey. A little something towards your next bottle of wine. We have graduated from the diaper fund to the vino fund. Hey Simon, thank you for that. I appreciate that. We appreciate you. So this walk right here, the Mall and Literary Walk, when it snows, is one of the most breathtaking sights you'll ever see. So I'm really looking forward to that. We should be getting closer. If last year was any guide, was kind of early January is when we started to see the real snow. So hopefully we'll start to hear about that soon. Yeah, Preston. So it sometimes at night you will see some. The gentleman who was in there was one other person in there. That person is a guy named Carlos, who's a musician, guitarist, plays beautiful guitar music, and he's there a lot of the time. And sometimes at night, he's actually the person I was hoping we would see performing. So sometimes at night he'll perform, and you'll see people sitting on the steps we just walked up, listening to him. But it rained a little bit earlier, and you can see some of the water on the ground. And so I think between the rain, the kind of cold, and the fact that a lot of the tourists have gone home after the holidays, the city is it's much quieter than it's been over the last few weeks. Much quieter. Oh, is DeBailey here? Hey, good to see you. Sue K says a bench along there was just dedicated by the cast of Mrs. Maisel to the show's creator. Hey, that's amazing. And for those of you who don't know, these benches in Central Park run for a cool $10,000. One day. Lizzie says she saw we should have some snow on Monday. Hey, I'll have to look that up. I hope it's more. So we got a sprinkling of snow when the winter storm Elliott came through. But when maybe a dusting is a more accurate way of putting what we experienced. So I'm hopeful that we'll start to get some real snow. But it's just been too warm, so it's not sticking yet. And David is here. Hopes to go to visit one day, but for now, learning English with us. Hey, good to see you. My beautiful wife Lisa has just joined. Yes, we have a very friendly community here, so feel free to practice away. Lizzie says from 2 a.m. to 9 a.m. So when we had the big snowstorm in January, I was saying I left the apartment at like 3 or 4 in the morning to go check it out. So we'll see. We'll have to see how much snow it is. If it's just a tiny bit, given how little sleep we get these days, that's a tall ask. But if there's serious snow coming, I will be out there. Let's say hi to Will. This is Mr. Shakespeare with a beautiful view of the skyline in the background. That's a nice shot. Isn't this such a nice contrast to yesterday? So yesterday we had so much fog and the clouds were so low you couldn't see the tops of any of these buildings. Ooh, seeing a lot of rats tonight. Ooh, that one stuck around for a minute. You guys probably saw that one. I'm looking for a raccoon. A raccoon is a little more enjoyable to look at than the rats. Leela thinks she'd like to visit New York City when there are fewer people. Yeah, I mean, it's a totally different vibe. I really enjoy it because it means no lines. You can get it at all the restaurants, all the museums. Easier to get tickets. Things are cheaper. So I'm a big fan. But obviously, I'm also very invested in wanting the city to succeed. So we do want it to get back to kind of normal levels. The holiday season really showed a reminder of just how busy it can get. Manny Explorers, good to see you. Yes, Graham is coming to visit, and it will certainly be easier on us to have more helping hands. And I know the little kiddo is looking forward to seeing his gram again. It's been a minute. Brenda's here. Oscar's here from Malaysia. Hey, good to see you. We were hanging out with Manny earlier. He was walking in Soho. Really beautiful. Love the architecture down there. I got to get down there soon. I have been wanting to do some more of Lower Manhattan, but it's again, when I go out, it requires Lisa to watch the little kiddo, and if I go too far, it means, you know, I'm just adding a whole bunch of time on either end. This is the dairy, which is the gift shop in the visitor center for Central Park. I'm going to get you guys a really nice view of the skyline in a moment. And we'll go see what's going on at the Woolman Rink, and we'll see how many copyright violations we can achieve tonight. They love to play pop music, which is fun, but loves to trip up my YouTube. Adrian's here. This is Central Park. Simon's considering this in London. Hey, you should. I know there's a few. In London, I feel like the recorded videos are a little more popular than the lives. And it's sort of the opposite here, where the lives are more popular than the recorded videos, but. So, always have to be careful here, especially after it's rained, because it does get a little bit slippery, so we'll be careful. And we will not go too close to the edge. But this spot right here has some pretty spectacular views. Yeah, Lisa did some of her holiday shopping in there. All right, we are very comfortable at this point. We could go quite a bit further, but we're comfortable here. That is Woolman Rink, the ice skating rink here in Central Park. Lots of folks are out here. Let me zoom in for you guys. All right, and let me get you guys the panorama, because this is, to me, this is my favorite. Love the panoramas over here. We'll get some more in a moment. Let me head down a little bit. Yeah, that's Woolman Rink. So that's the famous ice skating rink here in Central Park. In summer, it closed as an ice skating rink, but reopened as a roller rink. And it was called Disco Oasis, so Disco Oasis. And at night it had all this fascinating lighting. It was really beautiful. But we're gonna go a little farther south to my favorite spot, Gapstow Bridge and the pond. So we've seen the reservoir, we've seen the lake, and now we're gonna go see the pond. And there are other bodies of water in Central Park, but we'll see 3 prominent ones tonight. So Central Park just is part of Manhattan, taking up 843 acres, and it's not even the biggest park. I think, is it Corona Park that's the biggest? Dutch Moz has this he has a list of the parks and their acreage, which I will have to commit to memory one day. But every borough has, you know, some huge, beautiful parks. And then Brooklyn and the Bronx also have botanic gardens. There's the Brooklyn Botanic Garden, which is one of my favorite places to be. They do a winter light show called Lightscape that I have a nice video of. And then the New York Botanical Garden is in the Bronx, which is if it's not an area you spend a lot of time a great excuse to go to Arthur Avenue, which is the Bronx Little Italy, and have a spectacular meal. Hey Vinny, good to see you. It's been a minute. Connie is here. JR, Pelham Bay Park. Hey, there you go. Dusty Cole's here, a good friend. Oh, and Andrea mentioned as well, Pelham Bay Park, yeah. Every time I think of Pelham Bay, I think of that movie. Pelham 1, 2, 3. We watched both recently. The original is so good, so funny. But the remake of Pelham 1, 2, 3 is pretty good too. So this is one of Lisa's favorite views right here. This is her thumbnail. This is one of her favorite views. Serenity's here. Lizzie asks, is it dangerous to go a little in the Bronx? No, I don't think so. I've never, I mean, look, I don't want to make, you know, it's always so hard to talk about this stuff, but I've really never had any problems. You know, are there certain things I wouldn't do at 3 in the morning? Yeah, probably. So I try to be, you know, sensible and mindful. But Little Italy in the Bronx is a great place to visit. I really encourage it. Is fishing allowed? I don't think fishing is allowed in Central Park. You do occasionally see people doing it, but it's not something you see a lot of. You do see people fishing in the Hudson and the East River, and if you go online, you can look up. The New York City government has a list of like which fish you're allowed to eat or not, and how much, because there are, as one might imagine, things in the water that you probably don't want to ingest a lot of, like heavy metals. And I think almost all of the things are like, if you're pregnant, you really shouldn't. But if you want to Google that, it's a kind of interesting list to read about. So you do see people doing it, but I don't know how advisable it is. I think it would be probably wiser to catch and release. Hey, Nabul's here. So good to see you. We're just about to pop out of Central Park. We've spent the first hour here in the park. I get so many questions about the park at night that I thought we'd spend a little bit of time here. So this is the bridge we were just on, Gapstow Bridge. It's probably one of the most romantic, next to Bow Bridge. But to me, over here, this is one of my favorite spots. There's so much wildlife, beautiful views of Central Park South. And it's right here at 59th Street and 5th Avenue, or Grand Army Plaza. So if you're visiting New York City, this is probably where you'll enter the Central Park, either here or on the other on the west side of the park at Columbus Circle. Ooh, here's ducks swimming away. I guess I thought they might all be asleep, but they're still here and going at it. Yeah, before we pop out, we'll do a little bit of Midtown. I haven't eaten dinner and neither has the missus, so we'll do a little bit of Midtown, but we're not going to do a marathon tonight. So let me give you guys one last view. A nice contrast to yesterday where we couldn't even see the tops of the buildings. And we'll go walk a little bit of Midtown. Yeah, late night ducks. So around here is where I saw my big raccoon. We didn't see any raccoons tonight. We've seen some rats. We've seen many ducks and geese. We've seen a few rats. We've seen a couple horses, but sadly no raccoons. Raccoons, I think, are the most interesting to see at night. They literally look like bandits. It's the funniest thing. Lisa's got the praying hands of please feed me. I agree. I believe that's the Bloomberg building that is lit up in the colors of the Ukrainian flag. This is actually the spot where I saw my raccoon. It would be very funny. I mean, it was like a literally digging through the trash can raccoon. How funny. All right, let's go pop out. A couple of plazas here. To our left is Doris Frieden Plaza, which connects to the Central Park Zoo. To our right, Grand Army Plaza with the statue of Sherman. Get a lot of questions about that because yes, there is also a Grand Army Plaza in Brooklyn, probably more famous. But this is our Grand Army Plaza here in Manhattan. Can you swim in Central Park? So there is a literal pool. So there's a small body of water called the pool, which you cannot swim in. It's sort of like the pond. But there is a pool in the northern, here, I just have to cross, just let me focus on that for a second. There is an actual pool in the northern section of the park, but it's been closed for a while now. There's a lot of reconstruction work going on the very northern end of the park, including the actual pool that people can swim in. I think they said 2024, if I remember correctly, that it will reopen. If anybody wants to do a quick fact check on the Central Park website. But like the little bodies of water that you see, you're not supposed to go swimming in. The sort of exception to that would be the lake, which has the rowboats. Plaza Hotel. Right next to the Sherry Netherland with a Harry Cipriani. And again, lots of the lights have come down. Ooh, we have the street lights. Let me go across the street. Avenue. Super windy. This is why it feels much colder tonight. Oh, was Dutch here earlier today? I was watching the kiddo today, so we just had mostly some movies on. So I wasn't on a ton of streams today. So there's all this seating over here by the Apple Store. And you can sit on these, but they also are sort of skylights into the store itself. And sometimes you'll see people inside, which can be kind of funny to see. Oh, there's some folks. Dusty Cole, if you have Amazon Prime, all of the Indiana Jones movies are on Amazon Prime. GG NYC, hey, good to see you. Amazon has all of the Indiana Jones movies. If you're into action, they have a few of the Mission Impossible movies, and Netflix has some of the James Bond movies of the Daniel Craig era. Katie Marbles here says the website is saying it should be open for the 2024 season. Awesome. Lisa says whatever we can agree on. So since it's a later night, I think we will be leaning towards something that I will not be cooking tonight. So we'll probably lean towards something that delivers quickly. What that is, time will tell. Sue K says where she is in Santa Fe, they get a lot of coyotes. Coyotes. All right, let's go check out a little bit of Fifth Avenue. We still have the beautiful UNICEF snowflake. And as we've seen recently, the Christmas windows are coming down. Might have been Manny. I was seeing on somebody's stream that even the Macy's windows are coming down, so unfortunate, but they had a good run. Gettysburg Ma'am checking in from Chile, Pennsylvania. I really love this, the UNICEF snowflake. I think it's so pretty. This is Louis Vuitton. Huh. That's interesting. Scan to download the Louis Vuitton XYK. Anybody know what YK would be here? AR app? Huh. Lisa says, well, that's something. Oh, and they're getting like professional photos done of their windows. These just came up. These just have come up. So these aren't Christmas windows. They're just the kind of latest Louis Vuitton windows here. Yeah, it's super realistic looking, huh? Who is that performance artist? Yeah. Who is that performance artist who would sit at MoMA? She would just sit there and you could walk and sit opposite her and she just sat there for hours and hours. This person's just going to run this red light? What are they thinking? Who is that performance artist? That's what that reminds me of a little bit. It's the artist Kusama. I guess looks like, well, so that would be YK, I guess, right? Yayoi Kusama. I'm probably mispronouncing that. I apologize, but I'll have to look that. So this person is really running this red light. They are insane. What is their problem? Let's get their license plate. Incredible. Incredible. Why not? Kusama. All right, well, everybody knows who Kusama is. I'm not familiar with their work. I will look her up later. That sounds really interesting. And obviously has a interesting collab with Louis Vuitton. Yeah, it did say you could get an app of LV and YK, so I'm assuming you are all correct. I'm just not familiar with that artist, but I will look her up later and learn about her, and learn about the collab with Louis Vuitton. Seems interesting. Whoa, somebody actually got pulled over in New York City? That is such a rare sight. That is a rare sight. Lisa says Kusama, she had something at the Botanical Garden recently. That does sound familiar. I think I remember Prince Ice asking us about that. Even though I guess that my brain did not connect all the dots. I'll have to look her up. So Lisa will hopefully keep that tab open so I can read about it when I get home. Ramona says, a Japanese contemporary artist who works primarily in sculpture and installation is also active in painting, performance, video, art, fashion, poetry, fiction, and other arts. Wow, she's covers her bases. That's really cool. Well, they have created a robot of her in an incredibly realistic likeness. Just walking by the Fifth Avenue Presbyterian Church. And the beautiful peninsula. Love the lighting. Here at the peninsula. Lisa's got it all up top in her brain. Deborah says, are you sure that was a robot and not her? So, the feet were attached to the ground, but it definitely looked very realistic. It had that hyper-realistic look, for sure. But I'm pretty sure it was a model, a robot.
It's more just like...
Irene is here. Good to see you. Serenity says Kusama loves dots. Well, that would help to explain some of what we were seeing. We see some of the fancy watches here for our friend Prince Ice. Oh, and a lot of the Christmas decorations that they had up along Fifth Avenue are no longer here. But check out across the street. That's really nice looking. The planters. Preston says New York City has calmed down a lot after Christmas. This is night and day.
What's she put, A-Train?
So much less busy than it was. So this is the Peninsula Hotel. We just saw the front of it, but I always love to walk by the side of it, the windows here. This must be like a ballroom or a library or something, but check out just how ornate everything looks. Wouldn't you love to grab an old book and sit in here? I guarantee you there's got to be fireplaces in here. Oh, I bet that's so much fun. So beautiful. And in there they had some Christmas trees. I guess they've taken them down, but it's always fun to walk by there during the holidays. Again, that's the Peninsula Hotel. One day, if I ever come into possession of a massive pile of you know, airline miles or something. I might need to get a night there, because that just, I always love walking by there. It's one of my favorite sites. Ooh, is our audio not coming in very well? Let me know. Adrian has to put his daughter to bed. Hey, have a great night. This is St. Thomas Church. Let me know how the audio is coming through. Okay, all right. Well, if the audio is not coming in on your end, maybe hit the refresh button. Coming up on Uniqlo. I actually do some shopping here. It's a fun store. Ooh, the bells are tolling. Was that it? Just 2 bells? What time is it? 8:15. Oh, so that must have just been a quick toll for the 15 minutes. Ambrose. It could be that. It could be that. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Yeah, so this is beautiful 5th Avenue, and it really has changed so much since even just a few days after the holidays when folks go home. Cartier store still looking very stately at night. I gotta tell you guys, it is much, I think people like seeing when it's super busy, but it's much more enjoyable to walk when it's a little more like this. It's a little less stressful. And I don't have to hold the camera up, you know, to 7 feet so that it's getting through the crowds. Versace on our left, Longchamp, if anybody's looking for a nice purse. As we come up to the wonderfully intricate St. Patrick's Cathedral. And then I think what we're going to do is we're going to go to 42nd Street. So we're over here at Rockefeller. We'll briefly take a quick look at the tree if it's still up. And then we're going to walk to 42nd Street. And I think I'll show you guys Grand Central, and that's where we'll say goodnight. So that I can get back home to the missus, so that we can have dinner. And we will, of course, have more to come from New York City. Well, let's go see if the tree is still up one last time. Interesting. New York Police Department mobile command post that we're walking by. Radio City Music Hall up ahead. We're going to hang a left right here. It's a nice, beautiful little pathway for us to see if the tree is up. And if anybody knows off the top of their head, i.e. has access to Google, and can tell us how long will the Rockefeller tree remain up? I always love all of the designs on the Rockefeller Center buildings. It's so fun over here. Ambrose is guessing that tonight could be the last night. That's kind of on my mind as well, that this certainly might be the last Friday, but I guess I don't remember reading when it officially comes down. It's kind of sad to think about, right? It's been so beautiful and so many thousands of people have come to celebrate the holidays here. Kind of sad to think of it coming down. Jer says until the 15th. Okay. Okay, so we have perhaps one more week. Beautiful, isn't it? Let's go around this way this time. We didn't do this last time. Let me get you the other angles that we missed. Well, let's hope it's the 15th because it is really a wonderful site. It'll be nice to have it up for a little bit longer. Of course, beneath us is another ice skating rink. When we get to the other side, we'll see if I can get some shots of the ice skating. Standing directly underneath 30 Rock right now. It's always a mistake to say these things out loud because I have no wood to knock on, but the other nice thing about there being fewer people here is we can get right up close to the tree and the connection is fairly stable. We could not do this a week ago. Well, let's fingers crossed. Let's hope that it's up until the 15th, so we'll get another opportunity to come back, I'm sure.
Okay, bye.
Let me show you 30 Rock. Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Katie Marble is on the Rockefeller website. It is actually saying November 30th to Jan 14th, so a million different dates. Sounds like it'll be the 14th or the 15th. It will give the balance of trust to the Rockefeller website, since that seems the most authoritative. So we will say the 14th is likely the last day. So we'll try to come back. I'm sure we'll come back before then. We'll see it one last time. I wonder if they do a big thing with taking it down. I'll have to look into that.
Photos, guys. Photos, pictures. Anybody else for a nice photo, guys?
And you can see on the building behind it lots of
Pictures, guys. Photos.
twinkling lights being projected. Really beautiful. Let me see if I can get us towards the ice skating rink. There's lots of things in between us, but let me see if I'm able to. These are little cabins for the skaters. I've been told that downstairs is a good place to get restrooms. All right, and this is the line to go ice skating. Okay, so it's going to be tough to get the skating rink. Let's head over to 42nd Street. You know what we'll do? We're going to actually go to 41st Street. We'll see some of the Library Way, and then we'll go finish at Grand Central. Lizzie's celebrating Reyes Magos, the three wise men in Argentina. The chair said, just as I said, no people, large crowd. Yeah, So it looked like there were a ton of people there on that side for the ice skating. Excuse me, for the ice skating. And there's Saks, which is yesterday. Their Christmas windows were still up, so they've covered them all up. So officially, I think we can safely say the Christmas window period has come to an end. It was very fun while it lasted. I'm a little surprised, given how much work goes into those windows, that they don't keep them up longer. But again, what do I know? This is the Charles Scribner Sun building. It's now the home to a Club Monaco, but it's one of the most beautiful, ornate buildings here on Fifth Avenue. I love it. I love that one. The pedicab guys, all the pedicab bike riders, they must really be struggling right now because there's just not as many folks for them to sell to. Lisa said the Club Monaco, I remember that. Yeah, it used to be a Sephora before this. I think it's changed hands a number of times over the years. This is the Sephora now on our right, so it just moved across the street and down a block to what looks like a much bigger space. Drumming. Of course, if you really wanted to see a ton of people, to our right is Times Square. We visited briefly last night. There really were a tremendous number of people. And I'm happy to visit from time to time, but it's not exactly my... I think you'll discover on my channel I tend to prefer calmer areas. We have lots of friends in the chat tonight. So good to see everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're going to head down to 41st Street. We're going to walk a tiny little bit of Library Way. The stretch of 41st between Park Avenue and Fifth Avenue. So from the edge of Grand Central to the New York Public Library is called Library Way, and along the sidewalk are plaques with quotes. So it's kind of late, it'll be a little dark, so we probably won't get to read all of them, but I mentioned it before and kind of want to see a couple of them. So we'll see how much it, hopefully it's not so dark that we can't see anything. We'll go see a couple. Taxi Cab says American Apparel used to have lots of stores in New York City. Yeah, that's a company that you don't hear a lot about these days, right? Because the founder, I guess, there were some issues. I think it went mostly online, right? Like, I think I remember the brand still existed. But yeah, I think a lot of the stores, maybe all of them, have closed.
Come on.
Let me just try to pop across really fast. keep seeing that Wonderland Dreams thing. I think it's some sort of interactive exhibition of some sort. So let's go see a nice view of the New York Public Library. You know, it's also been on my list. I want to go back to the High Line with you guys, and I was hoping we would do some night walk over at the High Line, but for winter, the hours are now 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., so we'll have to do an earlier visit. Now, sundown in New York City right now is 4:30 p.m. So we could go at 4:30 and get sunset and everything. But unfortunately, we will not be doing any 7 or 8 p.m. walks at the High Line right now. There's one Vanderbilt. Prince Ice, good to see you. Panazni's here from Bosnia. Ambrose says, I've never seen anyone carrying one of those dozens of yellow duffel bags from North Face. I've never seen them either. Well, Suke mentions the bike. You got to be careful of the bikes and the cars. I have come to learn that the red lights here seem to be more of a encouragement rather than a requirement. It's very odd. Here, before we go over to the public library, let me just show you guys the Chrysler, because last night we couldn't see it. Ooh, Stylish Bunny making a nice arugula salad. That sounds really nice. Chrysler building. Last night was so covered in fog we couldn't even see it. Here's the beautiful Schwartzman building, the main branch of the New York Public Library. And it is as beautiful inside as it is on the outside, so if you're ever in the area, you really should check it out. They do free exhibits, and of course you could go to the reading rooms. It's so gorgeous. And of course it is overlooked by patience and fortitude. Here, let me take advantage of the street light. We'll get another view of the library, but let me just cross the street while I have the light. And when we're over here, I can also show you the tippy top of the Empire State Building, which appears tonight to be in its classic white lights. Stephen Bate is here. Hey, good to see you. So again, this is the main branch of the New York Public Library. If you're familiar with the movie Ghostbusters, you might find them here. All right, so I mentioned this stretch of 41st Street also goes by the moniker Library Way. And along the ground here, you'll see a series of plaques. What does that look like? Every 20 feet or so? Which have quotes from different authors and books. Give the gimbal a second to catch up. There it goes. Jose Marti, the knowledge of different literatures frees one from the tyranny of a few. All right, let's see a few of these along the path. Barnabas, good to see you. I like your videos, especially when you do my neighborhood. What is your neighborhood? A great book should leave you with many experiences and slightly exhausted at the end. You live several lives while reading it. William Styron. Taxi cab. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Ooh, Christmas tree. Yeah, one day I just need to come and photograph them all. Oh, Barnabas, you're in Yorkville? Love it. Yeah, I have a bunch of videos from Carl Schurz Park, etc.
Ooh, that's a gimbal?
Yeah,
What's it for the iPhone?
yeah, that's the DJI. It's really good.
DJI. I was just about to grab one of them.
You gotta do it.
Grab the little DJI camera too.
They're really good. I recommend it.
I'm gonna start doing. It's a better alternative to the GoPro.
I think you'll like it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm gonna use it for a lot of dirt bike riding.
Oh, you're gonna have a blast.
Oh, all right. Bet.
Hey, cheers. Hey, Joanna's here. Good to see you. Prince Ice with many a shout out. Yeah, we have a lot of friends on tonight. I love, we're so haphazard with our schedule. It is on our list to figure out a more reliable schedule one of these days. Hold on. Some interesting ones. Writing your name can lead to writing sentences, and the next thing you'll be doing is writing paragraphs, and then books, and then you'll be in as much trouble as I am. That's by Jerome Lawrence and Robert Lee, The Night Thoreau Spent in Jail. I love that. Yeah, our schedule is a little haphazard with the kiddo. One of these days we'll figure out a more reliable schedule, but I love that you guys have been tagging along, hanging on out, regardless of our randomness. So, let's see. We've gone a little screwy here. Let me see if I can get us a little more. There we go. There we go. The thing with holding the gimbal at an extreme angle is it gets a little thrown off. So yeah, this is Library Way. You take 41st between 5th Avenue and Park Avenue, and you get all of these amazing plaques. It's really fun. So one of these days I'll come back and I'll try to photograph all of these, put them on Instagram or something. Here you go, Library Walk, a celebration of the world's great literature, brought to you by the Grand Central Partnership and the New York Public Library. Sculptor Greg Lefebvre, 1998. Hey, there you go. So we're going to head over into Grand Central, and that's where we're going to check it out for a little minute, and then that's where we're going to call it a night, because I got to get home to the wife, got to get home to the kiddo, and I need myself some dinner and a glass of wine. I don't know about you guys. I think we've earned it. Nice spot here, Madison and Vine. You can see there's more plaques again until we get to Park Avenue. I wonder if these came later, since that sign sort of suggested that it could end at Madison, but I wonder if these came afterwards. Let's read one more. This is Isaac Dennis. Work much in order to secure the future. I gave my mind much work and trouble trying to secure the past. From Heavy. So we're coming up on the Park Avenue Viaduct. It actually goes above and around Grand Central. Normally, there's no sidewalk up there. So normally it's not open to pedestrians, but once a year, there's an event in New York City called Summer Streets. It's reserved for pedestrians. So hotel. So we had a little buffering here last time we were here. Previously there were obviously the hippo ballerina. We should be coming back. That's a dead spot at that corner for some reason. Should be back. So there's hippo ballerina. There were a couple of ballerina rhinoceroses. It's probably not the plural. But the rhinos are gone, but the hippo's still here. For some reason that corner is a dead spot for T-Mobile, I guess. So this is Pershing Square. There is a diner right here that's actually pretty good. So if you're ever in the area and just want some nice diner food, it's a good spot. And this is Grand Central. So like I said, you normally can't walk on this level, but if you check out our Summer Streets. All right, coming back. I don't know what it is. I won't say the words anymore. I thought here we wouldn't have any of that buffering, but I guess there's some dead spots in this area. Definitely a conspiracy. It's happened before, so I think it just the Pershing Square for T-Mobile is a little bit of a dead spot. I'll have to remember that. Here we are at Grand Central. Let's take a little walk around. British Grey is here. Hello to our friends in Florida. Let me really tempt fate, since we've already lost 50 of our friends. Let me push my luck. Let's go see how much service we get in the dining concourse. I just want this information for future reference. It's so beautiful here. Tartinerie, if you're interested in baked goods. There's a nice Shake Shack here on our left. Shake Shack is great. Probably the most famous is the Oyster Bar restaurant. There used to be a Junior's here, which was so great, but that's been closed for a while now. If anybody likes cheesecake, Junior's cheesecake's so good. There's a Luke's Lobster. When we swing around, I want to see how much the sandwich is at Luke's Lobster. Lots of little spots around the corner. So a lot of folks who work in the area will come here to eat lunch. So this place really fills up around lunchtime. Obviously, if you're coming or going by train, it's also a great spot to grab a bite to eat, but you will see lots of folks who work in the neighborhood during the day. Central Market, Chirping Chicken. Ooh, my favorite cookies. So this used to be a Jacques Torres on our right, which is a chocolatier here in New York. And my favorite cookies in all of New York City are Jacques Torres cookies, and a donut plant on our left if you want a very expensive donut. Let's see how much a lobster sandwich runs these days. Four-ounce lobster roll, $24. 6-ounce lobster roll, $35. Woo. Trying to imagine coming to Grand Central for lunch, not going to the Oyster Bar, and still somehow spending $25. New York. Unbelievable. Leather spa. You need to get a shoe shine. Uzzaro's there, nice little bakery. Beautiful. All right. Let's head back up to the main section. In front of us is the Grand Central Market, which actually is a lot of fun to browse. I would say it's a little pricey to do your actual shopping at, but it's fun to do some browsing and window shopping. And on our right, Love Pop. These have been popping up more and more. They're like three-dimensional, you know, like Hallmark cards, but they're 3D. Pretty cool. So beautiful in here. So along these walls you have your tickers for your various trains. It'll tell you which gate you need to head over to, or excuse me, which track. You can take escalators here, take you right up to the MetLife building and pop out at 45th Street. Oh, there's a pigeon. Pigeon. Let's see if I can get to it quickly. Now, there it is. Pigeon. And then we popped in over here from 42nd Street. And it's always fun to talk to people who work around Grand Central because there's a network of tunnels that take you out of the building to various street corners. And it's always fun to learn like the secret little tunnel that somebody's found to get in or out of Grand Central quickly to their place of business. You can take these stairs to the west balcony. There's a Cipriani right here if you want to grab a nice drink. And then you can pop out here to Vanderbilt Avenue. Most people, if they say, hey, meet me at Grand Central, they're probably going to meet in this main area, and if you don't really know it all, it'll be right here at the clock. Truly priceless. Hey, Robin, good to see you. I mean, these old train stations are so magnificent. They're really, you know,
Exactly.
it's hard to describe how beautiful they are, and they're so massive. And we were talking about it before, but the reason that Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis has a plaque here is because she helped to save this building for future generations. We lost the old Penn Station. And if you want to shed a quick tear, go on Google, type in Old Penn Station, and click on images if you really want to see an absolutely magnificent building. This is the east balcony. It'll take you up to the Apple Store. And then during the daytime, there's pathways along these massive windows, and you'll see people from time to time walking across them, but it's usually easier to see that in the daytime. And then check out these massive chandeliers. Prince Ice says Shinjuku Station in Tokyo, over 100. I'll have to check that out. I will have to check that out. Okay, let's take a last look at the ceilings, and we'll leave with one little bit of trivia. Well, I guess two bits of trivia. So obviously we have the constellations above us, and It has been said that the painters got the instructions wrong, and so that they're sort of reversed. But the other bit of trivia is, obviously they've had to do various renovations here over the years. And do you see the black square in the middle of the frame? So the story is, the last time they did a major renovation, they kept this square as a reminder of how dirty it had become, thanks to pollution and also cigarette and tobacco smoke. So to give you a sense of just how much work is done to keep this place looking as beautiful as it is. A small little square of a reminder there on the big ceiling. William from Brooklyn checking in. Hey, good to see you, William. So we're going to call it a night here so I can catch a train and head home to my beautiful wife, Lisa, and my little kiddo. It is our dinner time. Loved hanging on out with everybody. Thanks for popping out, spending a little bit of your Friday night. Or in Prince Ice's case, I guess your Saturday morning with us. We loved seeing everybody. We loved hanging out. And we'll be back again real soon to do it again. So thanks, everybody. See you again soon. Have a great night. Bye. Prince Ice, Dorg Rock, Will M, Lizzie, Ramona, British Grey, AM, Jer, William, Simon, LL, Lizzie, Alex, Serenity, Andrea Jordan, AM. Hey, take care, everybody. Joanne, Taxi Cab, Sue K. I'll see you all again real soon. Cheers. Bye.